All right, so we're diving into Core Laboratories' Q4 2024 earnings call, and
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
We got, geopolitical drama, Mother Nature kind of, throwing a few curveballs,
Yeah, definitely.
and some pretty impressive tech wins by Core Lab.
For sure.
So let's break it all down.
Sounds good.
So high-level results.
Yeah.
Looks like they beat expectations for the year.
I did.
Revenue up 3%, earnings per share up 9% compared to 2023.
Yep. And that's
Not bad,
not bad at all.
especially given some of the headwinds they faced.
Right.
But Q4 revenue did dip a little bit
Yeah.
compared to Q3.
It did just under 4%.
What happened there?
So a couple things. They mentioned sanctions impacting product sales,
Okay.
particularly in Eastern Europe. And then we also had severe weather in the U.S. and the Mediterranean,
Right.
which caused disruptions and forced facility closures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So a combo of geopolitics and Mother Nature.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
But even with those challenges, I was super impressed with their commitment to reducing debt.
Oh, absolutely. I
Right.
think that was probably the highlight for me. They slashed their net debt by $42 million, which is a 28% decrease from the end of 2023.
Wow.
And their leverage ratio is now the lowest it's been in 8 years.
That's
Pretty impressive.
yeah, no, that's great to see that kind of financial discipline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in this kind of volatile world.
Exactly. And that focus on debt reduction really unlocks some financial flexibility for them,
Okay.
which allows them to invest in growth opportunities, reward shareholders, and navigate these uncertain market conditions.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go deeper, remind us about the two main segments of Core Laboratories.
Right. So they operate in reservoir description and production enhancement.
Okay.
Reservoir description you can think of as the detective work.
Oh, okay.
So analyzing rock and fluid samples, figuring out what's down there, how much oil and gas a reservoir might hold.
So it's like mapping out the treasure chest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then production enhancement is all about getting the treasure out.
You got it.
Okay.
Focuses on maximizing production from existing wells.
Okay.
Includes technologies like completion tools and the diagnostic services they've become known for.
All right. So with those two segments in mind, let's unpack what's going on in each.
Okay.
Starting with reservoir description.
Okay.
What were some of the key takeaways there?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, the geopolitical landscape is creating some serious challenges.
Right.
The ongoing conflicts in Ukraine, Russia, and the Middle East are causing disruptions, particularly for their lab services related to analyzing crude oil.
And I imagine those sanctions that hit in January didn't help.
No, they definitely did not, especially in regions like Eastern Europe.
Right.
They saw a direct impact to sales.
It's a tough situation for sure.
Huh.
But despite those headwinds, they're seeing growth in certain areas.
They are.
The Middle East in particular seems to be a bright spot for them.
It is.
They're seeing a lot of activity in formation evaluation projects there, which is driving growth for reservoir description.
Exactly.
So it seems like the Middle East is a strategic priority for them,
It is.
which makes sense given the vast oil and gas reserves in the region.
Absolutely.
They've got the expertise in the tech to help operators there maximize production from those reserves,
Right.
and that's translating into, solid growth opportunities.
Yeah, it's interesting how certain regions are experiencing such different realities, right?
It really is.
You've got geopolitical challenges impacting one area while another region is booming.
Yeah, it's a real global balancing act.
It is. It really highlights the complexity of the energy market.
It does.
Core Lab has to constantly adapt and adjust its strategy based on what's happening around the world.
Okay, now speaking of adaptability,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of their technological wins.
Okay.
I was particularly intrigued by that case study where they helped an offshore operator in the Middle East solve a problem with produced water.
Yeah, that was a great example of how they're using advanced lab analysis to not just maximize oil extraction, but also do it responsibly.
Right.
They were able to help this operator devise a solution to minimize the environmental impact of produced water.
Yeah. It's not just about getting the oil anymore.
No, it's not.
It's about getting it sustainably.
Absolutely.
It seems like Core Laboratories is recognizing that shift and positioning themselves as a partner for, environmentally responsible energy development.
Absolutely. And it's not just in the Middle East. They're seeing success with these technologies all over the world.
All right, well, I want to hear more about that, but let's shift gears for a minute and talk about production enhancement.
Okay.
I know they faced some challenges there.
They did. Revenue for production enhancement was down 7% sequentially and essentially flat for the full year compared to 2023.
I'm guessing the slowdown in the U.S. onshore market played a role in that.
It definitely did. That's a significant market for their production enhancement services, and the recent decline in activity levels hit them pretty hard.
Yeah. And I imagine those hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico and the Mediterranean didn't help either.
No, they didn't. They forced the postponement of some completion diagnostic projects that were scheduled for late 2024.
Oh, wow.
So those are now pushed into early 2025.
It's crazy how weather events can have such a tangible impact on a company's financials.
It really is.
It's a reminder that even in a high-tech industry like this, Mother Nature can still throw some curveballs.
Absolutely. You're dealing with complex systems, right? Both in terms of the oil field itself and the global factors that influence it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about the challenges in production enhancement, but I'm curious about the bright spots.
Yeah,
Didn't they mention some impressive wins with their technology in that segment as well?
they did. They highlighted a couple of really cool case studies.
Okay.
One involved their refract technology, which they use to help operators in North America achieve a 50% increase in hydrocarbon recovery rates from unconventional reservoirs.
50%.
That's a big deal.
That's huge. Can you explain a bit more about what unconventional reservoirs are and why this refract tech is such a game changer?
Yeah, so unconventional reservoirs are basically rock formations that are much tighter and less permeable than traditional oil and gas reservoirs.
Okay.
It's a lot harder to extract hydrocarbons from them.
So
And that's where refract comes in. It's a specialized technique for stimulating these unconventional reservoirs and boosting production.
wow.
So they're essentially manipulating these microscopic fractures deep underground to get more oil and gas flowing.
That sounds incredibly complex.
It is. It requires a deep understanding of the geology, advanced modeling techniques, and specialized equipment.
So they're basically performing microsurgery on the Earth itself.
You could say that.
And a 50% increase in recovery rates suggests they're doing something right.
Absolutely. It's a testament to their expertise. And they also shared another story about their completion diagnostics team that saved a Gulf of Mexico operator from a potentially costly failure.
Okay, tell me more about that one.
So they were able to detect these tiny particles called formation fines that were threatening to clog up the well.
Okay.
Now, these fines are tiny, but they can cause major problems if they accumulate and restrict the flow of oil and gas.
So they're playing detective.
Exactly.
But instead of fingerprints, they're analyzing microscopic particles.
Exactly.
Wow.
They used their specialized diagnostic tools to figure out what was going on deep down in the well. And they didn't just identify the problem, they pinpointed the culprit.
Okay.
Excessive tubing movements during the completion process.
They've got X-ray vision for these wells.
It's really remarkable, and it shows how their technology is helping operators avoid costly mistakes and optimize production. They're able to identify potential problems before they become major issues.
It seems like Core Lab is really excelling at this combination of cutting-edge tech and deep expertise.
Yeah.
They're not just throwing technology at a problem. They're using their knowledge and experience to develop targeted solutions that actually deliver results.
Absolutely. It's a winning combination. And they're proving that in a complex and challenging industry like oil field services, you need both brains and technological prowess to succeed.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fascinating to see how they're navigating this ever-changing landscape.
Yeah.
We've talked about the challenges, but their successes really highlight their ability to adapt and innovate.
Yeah. I mean, one of their key strengths has got to be their financial discipline.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that aggressive debt reduction.
Right.
That's not something you see every day.
No, not at all. I mean, since 2019, they've reduced their net debt by 63%.
Wow. That's,
That commitment to a strong balance sheet really gives them a competitive edge.
yeah, for sure. It frees them up to make investments.
Mm-hmm.
New technologies expanded into new markets.
Exactly.
And speaking of new markets,
Yeah.
we touched on the Middle East being a bright spot for their reservoir description segment.
Great.
What's driving that success?
Well, the Middle East is undergoing some massive energy development projects.
Okay.
They're sitting on huge oil and gas reserves, and they're investing heavily in maximizing production.
So it's not just about finding the oil and gas.
No.
It's about understanding how to get it out.
Exactly, and that's where Core Lab's expertise comes in.
Right.
They're using advanced lab analysis and technical know-how to help operators in the Middle East make informed decisions about how to develop these complex reservoirs.
Makes sense if you're an operator and you're investing billions of dollars.
Right.
You want to be sure.
Yeah, you want to understand what's down there.
Exactly.
That's why Core Lab's services are in such high demand.
Mm-hmm.
They're providing the scientific foundation for these massive energy projects.
It's like they're the architects of responsible oil and gas development in the Middle East.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about free cash flow.
Okay.
It's the lifeblood of any business.
It is.
And Core Lab is a free cash flow machine.
They really are. They consistently churn out free cash flow, which allows them to invest in growth, reward their shareholders, and keep chipping away at that debt.
It's like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Reduce debt, frees up more cash, reinvest drive, further growth.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a powerful cycle, and that financial strength really gives them the flexibility to navigate, whatever challenges come their way.
Okay, so with their financial house in order, what's their outlook for the future?
Well, they're cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
They acknowledge the global landscape is still pretty volatile, but they remain positive about the long-term prospects for international upstream projects, especially in places like the Middle East.
So it's that balance of recognizing the risks and seizing the opportunities.
Exactly.
They're not shying away from the challenges, but they're not letting fear paralyze them either.
Yeah, they're like seasoned sailors navigating through choppy waters with their eyes on the horizon.
I love that. Okay, so what are the specific growth drivers?
Well, for reservoir description, they're projecting mid-single-digit growth, fueled by those long-term international projects we talked about.
Makes sense.
Yeah, given the trends we're seeing in global oil and gas development.
So they're riding the wave of international exploration and production.
Exactly.
What about production enhancement?
Yeah.
That seems to be facing a tougher road ahead.
It is. They're anticipating a flat or even slightly down year for production enhancement, largely due to the softer outlook for the U.S. onshore market.
Right.
Remember, that segment is heavily tied to activity levels in North America,
Right.
which are expected to be subdued compared to previous years.
Yeah, so even with those tech wins we talked about,
Right.
The overall market dynamics are kind of weighing them down.
Yeah, but they did mention some opportunities beyond the U.S. for production enhancement.
Okay.
They're seeing some promising growth in their completion diagnostic services globally.
Right.
And they also hinted at expanding opportunities in international markets, like unconventional plays in the Middle East.
So they're diversifying their offerings,
They
both geographically and technologically,
Mm,
to kind of mitigate risks and capture new growth.
this is a smart move.
Yeah, building a more resilient business model.
They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Okay, so we've covered their financials, their global reach, or their innovative technologies.
Mhm.
But what does all this mean for the average investor?
Right.
What should our listeners be paying attention to when it comes to Core Laboratories?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that Core Laboratories is navigating a very complex and rapidly changing energy landscape.
For sure.
They're facing geopolitical headwinds, market volatility, and even Mother Nature throwing a wrench in things every now and then.
It's true.
But they're doing it with financial discipline, a laser focus on innovation, and a commitment to providing solutions for their clients.
It's like they're playing chess,
Yeah,
thinking several moves ahead.
right. And in the world of energy, you need to be able to anticipate, adapt, and execute.
Mm-hmm.
And Core Laboratory seems to be doing just that.
Now, we've talked a lot about the big picture. Right. But I always love those specific examples,
Me too.
those anecdotes that bring these earnings calls to life.
Yeah, like that story about them helping that offshore operator in the Middle East solve that problem with produced water.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It shows how they're not just about maximizing oil production,
Mm.
they're also thinking about doing it in an environmentally responsible way.
Right, it's not an afterthought.
No,
It's core to how they're doing business.
it is.
Makes sense if you're going to be a long-term partner.
Right.
You got to align with those
Absolutely.
and priorities.
Core Laboratories is demonstrating that technological innovation and environmental stewardship can go hand in hand.
All right. And speaking of technological innovation,
Yeah.
remind me about the refract technology.
Right. So it's essentially a revolutionary technique for boosting hydrocarbon recovery rates from those unconventional reservoirs.
Yeah, those ones that are like Fort Knox for oil and gas.
Exactly. They're notoriously difficult to produce
Mm.
so any technology that can squeeze more oil and gas out of them is extremely valuable.
And Core Lab is claiming a 50% increase in recovery rates.
They are.
That's a huge leap forward.
It is.
It's like they're unlocking hidden potential.
They are pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Okay, and that other detective story they shared,
Right.
where their completion diagnostics team saved that Gulf of Mexico operator
Yeah, that was a close one.
from, a costly failure.
They were able to pinpoint the cause of those formation finds
Right.
that were threatening to clog up the well.
It's amazing how they can, analyze these microscopic clues
Right.
and figure out what went wrong, thousands of feet below the surface.
It really is impressive. It highlights the power of science and technology.
Yeah, I'm seeing a pattern here.
What's that?
Core Lab is really good at combining cutting-edge technology
Mm-hmm.
with really deep domain expertise.
Right.
They're not just throwing technology at the problem.
No.
They're using their knowledge and experience.
It's like they're the MacGyvers of the oil field,
I love it.
always finding a solution.
Okay, so we've explored their financial performance,
Yeah.
global reach, innovative technologies, their problem-solving prowess.
Mm-hmm.
What's next in our deep dive?
Well, stay tuned for part 3, where we step back and consider the broader implications of Core Lab's performance. Okay. We'll delve into the future of the oilfield services sector and explore the forces that are shaping its evolution.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Core Laboratories' Q4 2024 earnings call.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have their financials,
Right.
their technology,
Mm-hmm.
global reach.
Yeah,
It's been a journey, but
it has.
now I want to step back
Okay.
and kind of look at the bigger picture.
Sounds good to me.
What does Core Lab's performance tell us about the future of the oilfield services sector?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Core Lab's experience is really a microcosm of what's happening in the industry right now. We're seeing this convergence of rising energy, demands a growing focus on sustainability, rapid technological advancements, and of course, you can't forget about geopolitical uncertainty.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It really is. It's like this giant puzzle
Yeah.
with all these interlocking pieces.
Mhm.
And Core Lab is showing us how these companies need to adapt
Right.
to survive in this complex environment.
Yeah, they're not just drilling wells anymore.
No,
They're not. It's a whole suite of solutions.
exactly. They're helping operators optimize production, minimize their environmental impact, and navigate all these geopolitical risks.
So it's not just about brute force anymore.
No, it's about brains, technology, and a whole lot of adaptability.
Right, and Core Lab is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Their reservoir description segment.
Mm.
It's not just about analyzing rocks and fluids.
Yep.
It's about understanding the entire reservoir system,
The whole.
using that knowledge to help operators make, smarter, more responsible decisions.
It's like they're providing the scientific roadmap for energy development in the 21st century.
I like that.
Yeah.
And their production enhancement segment is evolving too.
Mm-hmm.
Pushing the boundaries with technologies that can squeeze more oil and gas out of existing wells.
Right.
And that's crucial, as we all try to strive for more, efficient and sustainable resource extraction.
It's about doing more with less
Exactly.
and doing it in a way that minimizes our impact
Right.
on the planet.
Core Lab seems to be, at the forefront of that movement.
They are. I mean, think about those refract technologies we talked about.
Yeah.
That can boost hydrocarbon recovery rates by 50%.
It's huge.
It's a prime example of how they're using technology to maximize resource recovery and at the same time minimize environmental impact.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is.
They're manipulating these tiny little fractures underground
Right.
to get more oil and gas flowing.
It really is a testament to human ingenuity and, all the advances we've made in oil field technology.
So for our listeners out there
Yeah.
who are following along, what's the key takeaway here?
I think the big thing to watch for is companies like Core Lab who are embracing these trends.
Right.
They're prioritizing sustainability, pushing those technological boundaries, demonstrating adaptability in this rapidly changing world.
Those are the companies that are going to lead the way.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not just about picking winners and losers. It's about understanding the forces at play
Right.
and identifying the companies that are best positioned to navigate them.
So it's not about riding the wave. It's about shaping it.
Exactly. And remember, the energy sector is constantly evolving.
It's true.
What works today might not work tomorrow. So flexibility and that commitment to innovation are absolutely essential.
It's a constant learning curve.
It is.
We're all just trying to keep up.
Yeah, that's part of what makes it so fascinating, though, right?
Yeah.
There's always something new to learn and explore.
Okay, so to wrap up Core Laboratories,
Yeah,
they're definitely a company worth watching.
I agree.
Navigating a complex industry.
Mm-hmm.
Financial discipline, innovative technology, committed to sustainable solutions.
Couldn't have said it better myself. They're a company that's not just adapting to the future, they're shaping it.
And now it's time for our This Is Not Financial Advice segment.
Oh, I love this part.
Let's have some fun.
Where we let our imaginations run wild.
Exactly. But before we get into it,
Right.
standard disclaimer.
Of course.
We are not financial advisors.
Nope.
This is purely hypothetical.
Just for fun.
For entertainment purposes only.
Absolutely.
No investment decisions should be made based on this conversation.
We're just having some fun here.
Right. So with that out of the way, here's my wild, totally not financial advice trade idea.
Okay.
Remember those sanctions impacting Core Lab's product sales in Eastern Europe?
Those are a wild card.
So what if, and just hear me out, we bet on a sudden, thawing of relations between the involved parties.
Interesting.
If those sanctions were to be lifted, even partially,
Mm-hmm.
Core Lab's product sales in Eastern Europe
Yeah.
could explode overnight.
I see where you're going with this high risk, high reward.
Exactly. It's a long shot,
Yeah,
but the potential upside is huge.
for sure.
So if you're feeling adventurous and you can stomach the volatility, this might be a trade to consider.
Okay.
Again, not financial advice, just a thought experiment.
It's an interesting idea for sure, and it shows how interconnected the energy industry is with, global politics.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen next.
That's the beauty of it.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive into Core Laboratories' Q4 2024 earnings call.
Yeah, it has.
It's been fun exploring their financials, global reach technology, and, the forces shaping the future of oil-filled services.
Absolutely.
We've learned a lot, and I hope our listeners have too. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring the ever-evolving world of energy.
Well said, and until next time, happy investing.